So I recently watched Inception again, 7 years later, after it re-showed on IFC and Sci-Fi and syndication 2 days in a row. Not to mention, I rewatched it again later on my computer. And there's some interesting stuff with the script. One interesting thing I want to discuss is Dom's story about his children. Dom wants to see his children. His wife died, as revealed in the film, and he can't see his children because of the murder and the incriminating evidence that his wife provided for Dom, that he was the one responsible for his wife's death after she was evaluated by several psychologists, not proving that she was insane. Dom wants to see his children. They also have to do, for him to get free from that conviction, he got help from Saito, a corporate guy who wants the Fisher company, or whatever you call it, taken down to prevent a whole bunch of energy monopolies happening in the U.S. They have to break it up by going into Fisher's mind, Fisher Jr.'s mind, to convince him that his father wants him to be his own man and not be part of the company, implanting that idea in his mind. They do that through the relationship with his father because they think that would really work based on how human minds work. I don't know if they had any information that proved that that would work on Fisher Jr. specifically, but they did that, and I think they do prove that in the film, actually. The interesting thing about that is that Dom wants a connection with his children. He wants to reunite with his children after his wife got them separated because of the law. Fisher wants a connection with his father. Dom puts Inception on Fisher. They could be parallel stories. They could be literary devices. It could be a coincidence that this was implemented in the film. It could be related. I'm not going to say how because it's not that clear, but it's possible. Also, Saito saving Dom is interesting too. They both go to limbo in the end, which is, as stated in the film, which I didn't catch on in 7 years, that is unconstructed subconscious. I don't know how that works scientifically, but that's how it is described in the film, and Dom is the only one who went there, so Saito goes to Dom's world. Saito sees him as an old man because time goes so fast there, going sometimes as slow or an hour and 5 minutes to an hour to the fourth degree or whatever it is, etc. And there's a lot more interesting stuff about Dom in addition. Saito can be seen as an old man while Dom is the young man. There's also the relationship between Dom and Saito as an old man, and Dom and his father-in-law with Maul's father involved, and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, etc. Batman Begins has I think this started with Christopher Nolan and Batman Begins, the relationship between a father and a son. Bruce Wayne, Thomas Wayne, Ra's al Ghul, Alfred, all those father figures. The Prestige has two magicians compete with each other, and I forget the magicians' names, but the Christian Bale magician wants to reunite with his children, wants to have his love of his life, but he wants to keep his role, possibly as an actor, as a parallel with a magician, etc., or a film director, etc. The Prestige, the magic trick, the film as a magic trick. I forget what's the goal of the Hugh Jackman magician. And Interstellar, you have the same problem, and it's very similar to Inception even, because they go into a wormhole, there's a tesseract, there's a big time gap because they went on a planet where gravity is very different, so time goes by really fast, and then his children age very quickly. He stays on there for a couple, I don't know how long, and then his daughter, who is really smart, ends up being an astronomer, like he finds out. When he gets back, due to the time that he's at the black hole, he barely sees his children. One of his children isn't there, and his daughter ends up becoming an old lady, and he sees her pass as if it was like 2001: A Space Odyssey or something. All those films have to do with Christopher Nolan and children and parents going back to the children, or in Batman Begins' case, a child going back to his parents, or being inspired by his parents. Thomas Wayne performed Inception on Bruce Wayne to become Batman, basically. Then again, Ra's al Ghul might have implanted that idea in his mind. There's a lot of interpretations as to what the Inception is in the film. Something seems a little bit psychotic about Dom's obsession with going back to his children. He doesn't send him to France, and he seems very stressed out compared to the other scenarios when he's talking about his children and Maul. And he doesn't concentrate on the mission when Maul shoots Fisher. He doesn't save him. He avoids the point of the mission, and it seems very amateurish for him to do so, even though he's such a established mind enterer. Maybe it's Inception that he's a mind enterer. Maybe it's Inception that his children are unattainable, and that's his goal. The fact that he obsesses the fact with Maul and the world and Limbo and all that stuff. In the end, he doesn't look at the totem anymore and keeps going on with his life. And that's the end of the film, and that's what's most important to him and the story of the film. To keep going on with life, not knowing whether you're living in a dream or reality. Just living on with life, figuring out the best of what you want to do. Oh yeah, another interesting thing. I should have done that, but I did. Another thing is that Maul in the beginning works for Saito, and then later is involved in the death of Saito, or injuring Saito. That's a very interesting change in roles, and it's interesting considering their relationships in the film and how they help each other in the film. So Dark Knight Rises, I forgot to mention, is also a story about father and son. It's about Batman saying anyone can be Batman, anyone can be Batman's son, anyone can be the next Batman, like John Blake. He gets with Selina Kyle, and John Blake becomes his antecessor. Ross has an antecessor with Bane and his daughter. Maybe it's Inception, how totems work, and in the end, he doesn't look at the totem because he doesn't care. Maybe he planned it in his own mind with that dollhouse in the safe, which is very visual, that the totem is how to interpret what is a dream, what isn't a dream. That he has to convince himself that he has to keep checking that it is a dream or it isn't a dream. Also wonder about that line about not remembering how you got to a certain place in a dream. You just end up there. How does the beginning start for Inception? How did he get there? We see how in the end he ends up helping out Saito, and he's with Saito in the beginning, and then he ends up there again in the end, which is interesting. And then we see in and then that he gets off the plane, but we don't see him walk off the plane and stuff. He just ends up back at his home, and we don't see him get back to his home. But it's important that he just gets back to his children, that he's living a happy life, not doing all this criminal stuff anymore. Although he might be doing it again. It's not clear whether he does stop the criminal Inception and espionage stuff, or he keeps going or not. They talk about Browning, the Godfather figure, being more powerful because of Fisher's power in the energy company. Thanks to his surveillance. We don't know a lot about Maurice Fisher. And that's pretty much all I have to say about the film. I wish I ended it a little bit clearly, but I guess I'll edit it later. That's all my stuff on Inception. I hope you enjoyed.